Benedict recently declared 2012 and 2013 the Year of Faith, and to celebrate, the Florence Diocese has organized a series of walking itineraries exploring faith and art in Florence that are interesting enough for both Christians and non-Christians alike. 4 major itineraries have been organized throughout the historic center of Florence, allowing pilgrims to explore the more important places of faith and art in the city. Here, Director of the Museo dell'Opera, Monsignor Timothy Verdon, tells us about them.
During the Year of Faith, declared by Pope Benedict XVI, the Opera del Duomo, the Cathedral Foundation in Florence, has produced a book, of which I am the author, which allows Florentines and visitors to Florence to visit the city in the perspective of the faith. Most of the great buildings, most of the great works of art in Florence really grew out of the experience of Christian faith that the people of Florence have lived for 2,000 years. And so this is a way of discovering or rediscovering works of art in the optic of their creation. Why were they made? Why were they made in this way? What were the elements of Christian faith that brought patrons to commission, artists to create works in the way that we see them, which is to say in Florence, unique masterpieces. These walks through the city, because that's really what they are introduced in the book first with a short essay on the relationship between Florence and its churches. The identity of Florentines, in the past at least, was very closely identified with the parish of provenience, with the church that they frequented, what have you. To grasp this historical relationship between the way Florentines thought about the city and themselves and the churches that they frequented is the first step. Then there's an extended visit to Piazza del Duomo, the baptistry, the cathedral, the bell tower, the cathedral museum, which obviously is the epicenter of this extraordinary creativity that the Christian faith generated. Here the biggest works, and in many respects also the most important works, were created. Florence worked on the buildings of this piazza for half a millennium, for 500 years, from the beginning of the baptistry around 1059 to the completion of the decoration of the cathedral in the late 16th century. And so that's the first visit. The second is a close look at some of the most intensely religious works that Florentine artists produced, which are a series of crucifixes. The most famous ones are the ones that were shown in the baptistry together in a moment of solemn religious contemplation in November. The crucifix of Donatello in Santa Croce, the crucifix of Brunelleschi in Santa Maria Novella, the crucifix by the young Michelangelo in Santo Spirito. But this chapter also talks about other expressions of this heart of the Christian faith, faith in a God who became man and as man accepted the death of a common criminal in order to save other men and women. Then there's a chapter on one of the most beautiful aspects of Florentine Christianity, the way in which in monasteries and conventi in Florence, in the dining hall, the refectory, there is often a painted version of Christ's Last Supper. The monks, the friars, as they took their meal, wanted to see themselves quite literally as Christ's disciples, wanted to think of him as being genuinely in their midst, wanted to put themselves before the question of whether to be faithful or whether to betray Christ, as Judas had done. And this really is a unique page of the history of Florentine art, this insistence on Christ's Last Supper right in the place where the most committed Christians, monks, nuns, friars, and so on, took their meals. Then there is a chapter on Mary in Florentine art, which is a very basic subject. Obviously, the city is dedicated to Mary, the cathedral is dedicated to Mary. She's probably the most frequent subject, and she's treated by Florentine artists in a variety of ways, such as you find in few other Christian cities of the past. So Mary in Florentine art, one can say from Luca della Robbia to Michelangelo's Tondodoni, if you like, but obviously the span of works is far greater than that. Then a very meaningful chapter, I think, which invites people to revisit the extraordinary network of hospitals, of orphanages, of confraternities dedicated to assisting the poor and the needy, for which this city was famous. The Florentines took justifiable pride in the fact that they were able to organize the charity that their Christian faith commanded in a rational way. In fact, when one goes to the Ospedale degli Innocenti or the Misericordia or the Loggia del Bigallo or the small church of the Compagnia dei Bonomini di San Martino, one really feels that these people very intelligently organized their desire to be of brotherly assistance to those in need. The last chapter proper is on Florence's unique religious painter, Fra Angelico, who dedicated his whole life to depicting the stories of Christ, of Mary, of the saints. He's one of the very few artists in the Western Church that you can, for whom you can use the term that Eastern Christianity uses for religious painters, an iconographer. So that entire walk or itinerary is in the Museum of San Marco. And then there is a fascinating invitation to open one's eyes and rediscover the tabernacles that adorn street corners, buildings in the lower levels. Florentines of the past really wanted to see Christ, Mary, the saints all around them, and their day was punctuated as they moved through the city with these images of the personages whose lives they wanted to imitate, of those in whom they believed.
Thank you. There's a special kit that can be picked up for free from the OPA Centro e Arte Cultura in Piazza San Giovanni No. 7. The kit contains the Pilgrim's Card. It grants reduced entrance fees to the museums in the itineraries, as well as other free stuff and discounts. The kit also contains maps and a short, easy-to-follow description of each itinerary in Italian. If you're looking for something more high-tech, however, then wait for the video guide and the apps of the itineraries that will soon be released. The itineraries culminate inside the Duomo at the special altar of faith that has been set up with a polytike depicting Florence's major saints made in Giotto's workshop. For more information, see www.operadelduomo.firenze.it or call the OPA Centro Arte Cultura at 055 28 2226.